49ers just made a strong statement. They just got real about the situation that they're in and the situation they're facing in just a couple short days on a Thursday night in Levi's South. We're going to get into all of that in this episode. Hit subscribe if you're looking for 49ers content and you don't want to go it alone. I'm here. You can chat with me. You can let me know what you're thinking in the comments. As always, speaking of thinking in the comments, let's start off with this. And plus, by the way, later in the episode, I've got updates. I got John Lynch updates, Kyle Shanahan updates, Brian Baldinger perspective. I've got a really, really interesting chart on how Brock Purdy ranked week 4 against other people. And it's not what you might think it is. It is not me trying to say, see, look how great Brock Purdy was. That's not what I'm trying to do. So don't worry about that. I think it's actually really insightful data, and it's a lot of different data points. So we're going to break into that and how bad Brock Purdy really was later in the episode. So if you're like really interested in that Brock Purdy conversation, stick around to the end because we're going to get there too. But let's start with the question today, which is the most imperative question we could possibly answer on a day like today, just 2 short days away from the Los Angeles Chargers. The biggest game on the schedule in the first half of the season, for sure. Going into the season, you look at the Rams game and you say, that's the game, that's going to be one of those big determining factors on where you stand in the NFC West. And, a lot of people saying before the season even started, like the 49ers are not looking to win the NFC West this year. They're a wild card shot. I'm just telling you, that's what people were saying from the very, very beginning. Then the 49ers go and they go 3-0. They beat the Seahawks on the road, which is the hardest game. I think on paper, it's one of the hardest games on the schedule every year. And then you look at the Cardinals game, and that one, the Cardinals have somehow found a way to have the Niners number way too many times. They should not have had the number of times they have. The 49ers often shooting themselves in the foot in that scenario. And then when I look back to the Rams game last year and really felt like we gave that game away. We owned it. We earned it. We had every reason to win it, and we kept finding ways to give it away. That's something that the 49ers have not done as much up until Sunday, which brings me to my question today. What is the biggest change right now for you? What is the biggest change the 49ers need to make going into Thursday? With so many things going wrong on Sunday, where do you put your energy? Where do you put your focus? Obviously, I get it. Everybody needs to improve. Literally everybody, except for Fred Warner, who seems to just be a player from outer space. He's got some kind of something, an X factor, let's call it, that is just beyond what the 49ers deserved on Sunday. He played lights out, unbelievable football, and he continues to do it week in and week out. Outside of him, and you can lump D. Winters in there if you want, but with that face mask penalty, I think all of them feel like they have things to improve on for sure. So my question to you, what is the big thing? For me, I'm just going to point at one. And this is the big one for me. Despite the fact that I think special teams really should hold the heaviest weight in that loss in a lot of ways. I mean, if I'm a special teams, if I'm Brant Boyer, if I'm on the special teams, I'm taking personal responsibility and saying, that one's on me, coach, because you had every opportunity to win that game and you didn't. But for me, I'm looking at Brock. And I'm thinking it's not just Brock, but Kyle Shanahan called a very good game offensively when it came to play calling and things like that. I'm not going to hold him responsible for a whole lot of anything when it comes to the game play. I thought Kyle Shanahan brings out a hook and ladder. He's bringing out stuff to make it work. He's scheming guys open, and they're dropping the ball. So I'm not going to call Kyle Shanahan on this one. What I will say is I'm going to ask for the short term. I'm talking just Thursday. You're probably going to do it without Brock Purdy. You're probably going to do it without Ricky Pearsall. You're probably going to do it without Juwan Jennings. You're probably going to have to do it, best case scenario, with Mac Jones, maybe not even him. But I think he's going to be ready to go. So everything's working well in that regard. What do you do with a quarterback who can't move, who can't run like the way that Brock Purdy, when he's healthy, can run? What do you do with Mac Jones? I'm telling you, this is what I would do. I would love to see more dink and dunk. I would love to see a little bit more of an emphasis on check down. Not a big one, but a little bit more on check down. I would like to see the 49ers using the perimeter in short yardage situations. There are so many times that I don't see that 3 or 4 yard vertical pass on the sidelines. Like, why aren't we doing that more? I would like to see more of that. I'd like to see some more screen plays. Put these guys in a position where they have a shot. We see a couple of them now and then, but 2023, we saw a lot more screenplays. I'd like to see more of that. I do 100% understand that we don't have Deebo Samuel, and he was your screenplay guy. I get it. George Kittle, he's one of your screenplay guys. Throw a bubble screen to somebody. Put Christian McCaffrey out. He's been in a couple screens, actually. So I won't throw him out there. Put somebody dynamic, somebody different in a screen, and just give Isaac Guerendo, who was a former wide receiver, give him a shot in a screenplay and just see. Give him the moment that Xavier Worthy had at the beginning of the season last year, where if you get blocks set up for a moment, you've got a guy who on paper has 4.3 speed and he's 220. I'd like to see that Raheem Mostert stat line actually play out in a real game for Isaac Guerendo. I'm just saying, that's what I'd like to see. And I'd like to see the 49ers I'd like to see them ground and pound, baby. I want to see them run the ball. I want to see them consistently run the ball, even when it might cost them a drive. I want to see them force their way into running the ball, if it's possible against this young defensive line for the Rams. I don't know. That's what I'd like to see. I'm just telling you my personal opinion. I want to see them running up the gut. I want to see CMC. I want to see Brian Robinson get more snaps. I don't feel like he's getting enough opportunities. And I'm not saying it's all on Christian McCaffrey. I think it's 100% on the offensive line. But I would like to see more opportunities strictly because it is a staple of this offense. And I do not want to see deep ball. I don't want to see a high percentage of deep balls because right now, the guys you're throwing to, you are risking it higher than you're risking it when you throw it to George Kittle in triple coverage, when you throw it to Brandon Aiyuk in triple coverage. Like some of these guys, Juwan Jennings did it a lot last year. They can handle the moment. The other guys, though, I don't know if they can. I'm not so sure. What I saw on Sunday would suggest they can't. So I'd like to see short yardage stuff. I'd like to see the gameplay condensed, and then I'd like the occasional attack the single high safety, attack the opportunity when the corners are about to blitz. Take advantage of some deep balls in some opportunities, but don't emphasize it as a part of your game. You can disagree as always. That's part of what makes talking sports fun. I'm comfortable with the 49ers condensing the field and saying, let's see what happens, baby. Let's condense the field a little bit. I know that that's counterintuitive, but let's condense the field a little bit and let's force their defense to start cheating up before we start trying to attack them deep. Just my opinion. You can let me know what you think as always in that one. That's where I currently stand. I just don't think that we're doing the best with those risky ball situations right now. The 49ers need to focus on protecting the ball, protecting from turnovers, and we have not been doing that this season. Mac Jones had a game where he didn't throw a pick. Okay, that's good. Other than that, there have been interceptions, fumbles, you name it. In fact, that game he didn't throw a pick. He did have a fumble, if I'm not mistaken. Let me know what you think in the comments on that one. Let's get into some Lynch updates, starting with the offense. And then I want to get into what the 49ers, how they got real. John Lynch got real, took some serious ownership in a way, and I'm going to take it. But Ricky Pearsall, he's questionable versus the Rams, did not practice today. Okay? Brock Purdy also did not practice today. Here's what John Lynch said this morning. We always look into everything for all of our players, so we will take every precaution to make sure that Brock's all right. I think he is. Now it's just a matter of can he turn it around on a short week. I think he's listed as questionable. I think it's a true reflection of where he's at right now. Brock Purdy was asked about it at the stand about an hour ago. Brock Purdy basically said, if I had to go tonight, I can't go tonight. I could not play tonight, but I have 2 days. So he's optimistic he can make it happen. Who knows what that really means, but he did not look like his best self, and I would like to see Brock Purdy be his best self. The 49ers, of course, do have a mini bye after the Thursday night game. That helps a little bit, and you got guys like Trent Williams. George Kittle waiting in the wing, hopefully is going to be ready to go when the time comes, so that would be great. Brock Purdy says, by the way, also said this, his toe doesn't feel nearly as bad as he did after week 1. The curveball this time is it's a short week. He's wearing a cool hat. Okay, yeah. We'll keep going. Brian Baldinger on Brock Purdy and his high number of turnovers. So many of those turnovers now over the last 2 years, it's just the talent around him isn't as good. Quick pause for my partners over at Chomps. I've told you guys about Chomps before. I'm a diehard fan. My wife got me absolutely hooked on them, and I'm stoked to be able to partner with them to tell you about them. This was the original flavor that I got hyped on. This is the original grass-fed beef, delicious flavor. And then this one is another one you got to check out, which is the smoky barbecue seasoned beef stick. But if you don't know the story about Chomps, they're great for you. They fit into your lifestyle. They're grab and go. You can throw them in your bag, in your backpack, in your car, at your work desk, etc. And there's 0 grams of sugar. I love that. Grass-fed beef, 10 grams of protein, 100 calories. They fit into whatever goals you have. In my opinion, they fit really, really well. And I'm going to be honest with you guys. I think I've said this before. I wasn't really a beef stick guy growing up. Never a big fan. And my wife got me hooked on them. I absolutely love these things, and I'm totally hooked on them now. I'm a diehard fan. You can click the link in my description to check these things out. After my wife bought them for me, they immediately became one of my favorite tasting snacks. Diehard fan of them. Check them out, and let me know what your favorite flavor of Chomps is in the comments below. Wow. That is Brian Baldinger stating an argument that a lot of 49ers fans don't want to hear. A lot of 49ers fans don't want to hear this for many reasons. Brock Purdy apologists don't want to hear it because they want to say it's reducing the quality that Brock Purdy brings to the table. Brock Purdy haters don't want to hear this because then they're admitting effectively that the 49ers signed a guy knowing that he needs targets. I think that the answer is in the middle. I think Brock Purdy is a quality quarterback, and he's the best available quarterback the Niners could have gotten. They made the decision they did. I agree with it. I'm happy with where the 49ers are going to go. I'm happy with the contract. It's not a top-of-the-line contract. It's not a Dak Prescott kind of contract. So the Niners can build a team around him, especially as this contract ages. And his hit against the cap is what, $9 million this year? Not a big deal. Not a big deal. The problem is your wide receiver core is absolutely bare bones right now. That's the problem. And basically, Brian Baldinger agrees. The problem is that your wide receiver targets are not as strong as the alternative, and that is where it shows up. Because he has to take a risky ball. I wish he wouldn't have thrown it, but he has to play a risky play to Christian McCaffrey instead of to a wideout. Instead of to a guy who's 6'5" and has hands. Christian McCaffrey's a good pass catcher. He's not a miracle worker, and that's what you ask with that pass to Christian McCaffrey. And then you've got several guys. No offense to Kendrick Bourne. I like Kendrick Bourne a lot. I like his personality. I like his attitude. I like the swagger he brings to the locker room. I like everything about Kendrick Bourne except for when he drops balls. That was not cool. Wasn't a fan of that. He took ownership of it, and he's looking to do better this Thursday. So all that being said, interesting from Brian Baldinger to support him on that. We'll get back to some more Brock Purdy stuff later in the episode. John Lynch on Mac Jones playing if Brock Purdy isn't able to play. Mac's doing well. Mac's been really good for us in every respect, and the way he's going about his rehab with the knee situation that he's been dealing with has been no different. He's tireless in his work, so I think Mac's in a good spot to back up or play if need be. And basically, Mac Jones is playing. I think that's the way I read that. I don't think Brock Purdy is going to be able to turn it around fast enough. I don't think Brock Purdy is going to be 100% on Thursday, and I just don't think they're going to put Brock Purdy with limited wide receivers out there. I just don't think they're going to put him out there on a short week with the injury he's dealing with. That's how I read the situation, but you guys can feel differently, of course. Let's talk about the defense, though, because this is when things start to get real for both John Lynch, Brian Baldinger, a lot of guys getting real about the 49ers right now. Here's what John Lynch said on the D-line. He just straight up, you have to hit the quarterback in this league. We got to find a way to put the quarterback under duress. I don't think we did a good enough job of that. We have to find a way to do that, especially with Matt Stafford, which tells you even more about how how John Lynch is processing the reality of the quarterback we're about to face and the lack of pressures against Jacksonville. So, can the San Francisco 49ers, with a banged-up defensive line, we'll talk about that in a second as well, can the 49ers find a way to get after Matt Stafford? I do not think it's the line. I don't think they're going to find the answer in the line. No offense to the line, they're just not there yet. They're not there right now. You got Michael Williams banged up. Who else do you have banged up? Oh, we'll come back to that in a second. But you got a bunch of guys banged up, right? Yetur Gross-Matos is banged up. So how are you going to do it? It's going to have to come from Robert Saleh, and it's going to be risky plays, and you're not going to like the outcome when some of those times when you take those risky blitzes, sometimes it backfires on you. Matt Stafford is a very, very experienced quarterback. He's seen a zero blitz. He knows what to do in those situations, and he has targets. He has solid targets. So, Devontae Adams, Puka Nacua, Tutu Atwell had a big game the other night. So is he going to be able to find an outlet if they zero blitz him? Yeah. So I think it's going to be a very, very tough game for both the offense and the defense to call. And I think Robert Saleh is going to have to probably take some risks at some times in this game if they're going to get after Matt Stafford. That's where I think it's going to come from. Here's Brian Baldinger's take on how the 49ers fared on the defensive line. What did you see from the D-line, Brian Baldinger? Nothing. I didn't see anything. I didn't see great effort. When you come out of a game where you don't have a sack or a quarterback hit, what did they do? How did they impact the game? On the play, Fred Warner strips the ball out of the middle of the field. The ball is on the ground. I felt this too. We haven't talked about this yet. It was just sitting there. It felt like, where is everybody? Where are they? How is no one going for the ball? You got 4 defensive linemen who have not even begun to pursue the football. 4 Jacksonville offensive linemen beat all 4 defensive linemen to the ball. And then he talks about the Liam Cohen thing. We can talk about that later. 49ers. Following players limited at practice today. D. Winters, Michael Williams, Yetur Gross-Matos, and Renardo Green. I will say there's hope because of the D. Winters, Michael Williams, and YGM limits. They're limited in practice. I think that's a good sign on a short week that they're even out there, honestly, because there's a lot of guys who just did not even practice. Renardo Green, I'm not sure if I'll give hope on that one because he was limited a lot last week and did not make it for the game. So we'll see. No clue on that one. But Michael Williams and Yetur Gross-Matos, those are guys who you got some time before these guys are going to come back. I don't know, man. I don't know if they're going to make it on a short week. We'll see. We'll see, because this is effectively a Friday practice, if you think about it, right? Like you're 2 days away from Thursday game, so Friday to Sunday, that's kind of the same kind of deal. If you're not practicing on Tuesday on a short week, it's a little different because it's a shorter week, and so you can be limited and still be potentially starting. But, excuse me, John Lynch on Upton Stout, thought this was good. Getting called for that pass interference against Jacksonville, I didn't like it. I thought it was a game-changing play. Couldn't agree more. And I think he's more so referring to the referee decision there to call that a pass interference. It's really hard to see pass interference plays. We've talked about that ad nauseum. I'm not going to keep going on that, but it's hard in such a game-altering moment to make that decision on an interception. It's just such a limited amount of contact. There's contact on every single play. There's always contact. It's initiated by both players all the time. I get it. He had a little tug. I get it. But you don't see it from the main angle, which is why I didn't say anything in the first night, because I didn't see it at all. You see it from some other angles, but again, we're talking so minimal. I love Upton Stout. He's fantastic. Great rookie. John Lynch on the altercation between Robert Saleh and Liam Cohen after the game. Saleh truly meant it as a compliment. Saleh said the same thing tonight, by the way. I think he wanted to put them on notice that we know. When he said side stealing, that probably irritated them a little. I didn't think it would irritate him that much. Seems like they used it as a battle cry, a little dust up after the game. Those are just words. Everyone's good. We move forward. What I thought was most interesting in all of this is John Lynch basically telling you why Robert Saleh did it. He says it right here. When he said, I think he wanted to put them on notice that we know. Isn't that interesting? We talked about if it was like a mind game last week. Like, is it just a mind game? Is Robert Saleh just trying to get in Liam Cohen's head a little bit? And that's basically what John Lynch is telling you happened. Just trying to put it out there that he sees what's going on. He knows that they're doing a lot of work. And Saleh said it again today, like, that he was genuinely trying to give a compliment. So we'll leave it at that. Brock Purdy. I want to look at this chart real quick before we go. This is a really interesting chart. This is week 4 stats only, which is important because Brock Purdy's only played 2 games and he was out for 2 games. So really helpful. These are the week 4 stats, the QB performances week 4. And Brock Purdy finds himself in the middle of the pack, where you'd expect. And that comes from his overall rating. His completion percentage over expected is negative 10.4%. That's the red part, okay? His EPA per play, not great either. Middle of the pack, where you'd expect it to be. I actually say this because I find myself to be somewhat of a Brock Purdy apologist a lot. And I do talk about his EPA per play a lot. And that's an important stat that I bring up. So I bring it up today because I recognize that Sunday he did not play his best football. He did not play super well, had a lot of mistakes. Those don't show up as well on the EPA per play. And so sometimes I'll bring that stat up and say, but look what else he's doing when he has mistakes that he throws and when everyone's criticizing his play, as people always do with Brock Purdy. So I'm also not hedging my bets, but I'm also giving you both sides. I want you to see the honesty from my point of view as a somewhat Brock Purdy apologist. It was interesting. His time to throw was well above average, top 5 in the weekend. I was in the league this weekend. In his time to throw. So that's interesting in itself because of that good pass pro, but also because Brock Purdy is decisive. He's a quick processor. Even when his foot is banged up, he's still a quick processor. But yeah, his yak percentage is down. The drops don't help a lot of these stats, by the way. ADOT is below average, and his QB rating is middle of the pack like you'd expect it to be. So all of that being said, do you feel better or worse when you see a chart like this? Do you feel better about your quarterback, Brock Purdy? Some of you guys in the comments yesterday, like Brock Purdy apology kind of thing. And some of you kind of Brock Purdy hate and whatever. That's cool. That's part of being a sports fan. I feel like this is what I would expect to see in terms of his stats based on the level of play we saw. I admitted to you guys yesterday, I felt like watching the game live, I felt better about Brock Purdy's performance. And then after watching some highlights and some of those decisions, I felt worse about it. And so obviously this definitely feels to me to be more accurate, more in the realms of what you'd expect. And Brock Purdy's being paid depending on which metric you look at. I mean, you got to look at all of them, right? Guarantees and all that stuff. But Brock Purdy's being played around that top 10 range, right? Top 14 in some ratings, and it just depends on where you go, right? So if you average it all out to be like a top 10 quarterback, he did not play like a top 10 quarterback. He also didn't play like a top 32 quarterback, did he? He didn't play the worst game of his life, like that Baltimore Ravens game. So I'm going to take it for what it is. I'm gonna take it. I don't think anything changes with the contract because he was QB1 before, he's QB1 after. Heard some great arguments on that point. I thought that's solid. I can ride with that. All I'm gonna say is I feel like what we got out of Brock Purdy was a mid-level performance. What we'd like out of him is better. He will be better. He will grow. He will learn. I'm not worried about Brock Purdy. This was a bad game, coming off the injury, looking raw, looking rusty, and hopefully he gets back into a rhythm very soon, and we'll all feel a lot better about all of this. But the number one thing for me, which is why I go back to the question I started with at the very beginning, what is the biggest change the Niners need to do going into Thursday? For me, it's scheme backwards just a hair, step backwards just a hair in your scheming, and dial down the intensity just a little bit. Dial down the risk factor just a little bit. Focus more on just getting 4 or 5 yards. Just get 4 or 5 yards for now. I'm not saying go full-blown Tom Brady-esque, back in the day when it was like every single play was like 10 yards or less. I'm just saying you condense the field before you test the deep, right? Do the deep ball after you've forced those defensive backs to step a few more feet forward. Give it some time. Make them work for it. Make it hard for them. And do those long, sustained drives we know the 49ers are capable of. That 2023 49ers team who just out time of possession every single team in the NFL. That's how they went into the 2024 season, being favored in every single game on the schedule. Because they had a great roster, and I mean, in theory, they came into the season with a great roster, and they time of possession killed everybody. And that's how that worked. You move the ball well, it's tough to defend against. If you just keep moving the ball, the defense gets worn down. They get gets rocky and you start to get a little more of those breakout plays. You get a lot more yak percentage. We're not getting yak right now. So stop trying to force it downfield. Start kind of building that back up from scratch. That's just my personal opinion. You guys can disagree as always. Appreciate it. And I hope you guys have a fantastic rest of your Tuesday evening.